That one. Ooh, that's just me. Hello and welcome to DCO. I clicked on my button and now you can just see me. That one. And there's Barnaby. Hello, I'm James. This is Barnaby. And today we are chatting about Ansible more than the hashy stuff we've been messing with recently. But in all the times we're messing with the hashy stuff, all our setups, we've been using Ansible kind of as the backbone of spinning the servers up. So it's probably worth us talking about what Ansible is and how we've used it, or how you can use it to set up something like a Vault server.
Yeah, I think when I first got into DevOps, or first sort of came fresh out of uni, started my training, Ansible was one of the tools they taught me, and at the time I thought this seems a little bit naff. And you just kind of describe things in a YAML file, and then a load of commands are executed on the server. But kind of, I've recently come back to Ansible and found more of a love for it than I first understood when it was originally presented to me, because I think the powerful bit of Ansible is it's idempotent. So it will
If you
check.
make it, you can very easily write non-idempotent Ansible scripts.
Yes, I guess Ansible is built so it's intended to be idempotent, and most of the core blocks themselves generally will be idempotent. Is when you have things that you do across multiple code blocks in Ansible, multiple task blocks. They're called plays. So if you're provisioning something across multiple plays, you have to think about how you manage idempotency. But if you're just doing something in a single play, it will be idempotent. So the simplest example of this is if you wanted to install something, you'd tell the package manager to install it. But before executing that code, Ansible would check to see, is this thing installed and is it the version that's been specified? And if it is, it'll just go, great, that's there already. I'm doing nothing.
Yeah, it's
Which is
kind of
very
when
useful.
you start touching the command or shell tasks, that's when things stop becoming idempotent. Unless you make them. There is ways you can do those commands in a very idempotent way if the file you're using does what they want.
Yeah, it sort of will look for things. You can have it so it'll check to see if files are created. So if you're running a playbook or something, running a command that creates something in the process, if you just check to see if that file is created, it will not run that command in future. It can cause
Yeah.
problems if you want to run that command to do an update because the file's still there, but I haven't got to the point where I'm reading files for certain configs, but I'm sure it's something you could do fairly easily. Because
Yeah.
I guess Ardence was written kind of in Python in the back end with it. So you can kind of, if you know what you're doing, you could write Python code to get in there, but it's
You can do
kind of
whatever you want.
quite a way away.
All right, should we get into a vague demo?
Yeah, it's
So,
very kind of rough, this one. So we kind of the loose aim of this will be to have a Vault node up and running at the end of this, but it's been a little while since I've done Ansible not through enterprise solutions, so I'm going to have to remember a few things.
I don't worry. I've been messing with Ansible for the last couple of months in the command line, so hopefully I can fill out any blanks.
I guess it's worth saying for people that if people want to ever do this at home, to run Ansible, you'll need Python installed. So I think it wants Python 3. Just check what the Python version is.
It needs to be Python 3. Whether the command is Python 3 or just Python will depend on your operating system.
I
But
aliased Python to Python 3 on my Mac because I was getting so fed up of it running Python 2 by default. I was like, I've had enough of this. I'm
That's fair.
forcing you into the future, whether you like it or not. And then you can install Ansible through a pip install. So it's just pip.
You should do Python m-pip. Python doesn't want you just running pip install now. You should be doing Python-m pip install. Which
I have also aliased that to pip install.
Perfect.
So yes, you should do Python 3-m pip install, but I have aliased that because I was like, I don't want to type all that.
Some systems it's not Python 3. Python is just what it's called. It just depends on operating system. Like Ubuntu, I think, is just Python.
Yeah, so like, I've got pip installed and it's told me new release of pip is available, and I've already got Ansible Core at 3.5. If you want to update this, you just run a dash upgrade flag, similar to the command here where it's telling me to upgrade pip. But that's left aside. So at the moment, in here, I have nothing. I have an SSH directory hidden in here. As for Ansible reaches out using SSH, but apart from that, completely blank. So the first thing we need to make is a hosts file, what I remember.
Oh, you can call it what you want. I normally call it inventory, but yeah. Well, yes, I normally do a folder as well, just because for no benefit. Actually, no, the only benefit I've had is if you want to do stuff like a dynamic provider, it will take in then both files. So you can have a dynamic provider file and your standard config.
Yeah, I have VS open, so I'm going to swap back to this and do things in here. Let's get a terminal from this as well, so I don't have to jump to and from. Is it nice and big? It's
Yeah.
on my screen, so I assume you can see.
Very readable.
Are you a YML guy or YAML guy when it comes to YAML files?
YML. Least characters, the better. Why do I need to type it A 100 times to write an Ansible playbook?
This is just
It's 3 dashes at the top to show it's a YAML file. And then it's all. No, square brackets. You're doing it YAML. No square brackets in YAML. Colon. Yeah, if you're writing it as YAML, not as the other weird format it does. And then new line, hosts. So this is assuming we're just going to have, we're not going to have anything but the default hosts. And then tab, and then the IP.
Just grab that from all the other commands. I saw something today going around my client. There was like talking about doing pen testing. I was like, ooh. Let me know that. But
Sounds brave.
I have a funny feeling they won't. Oh my goodness. I've also been working on Windows all day, so I'm pressing the wrong key.
It's so annoying. And then what I normally do is colon and then new line. And then tab in. And I'll specify the Ansible user, which is Ansible underscore user. And then colon, space Ubuntu. Just so we don't need to worry about specifying the user or anything. It just knows who it's logging to. Oh, you missed a final U.
Do we need to, I guess we need to specify the SSH key location as well.
Yeah, I don't actually know how you do that in Ansible. Oh, I was looking earlier. It's like public key or something.
It's really a private key.
Yeah. Yeah, it's Ansible SSH private key file. No, wait. Ansible means it's an Ansible variable. So yeah, no, it's Ansible underscore SSH underscore private underscore key underscore file, I think. And what you're thinking about with the square brackets was a config file instead of a YAML file for this.
Save that. And
If we're lucky, that'll work.
I guess we'll find when we get there. So
Yeah, I was about to say, oh, you could run an Ansible inventory script, but that won't do anything.
do you want a directory? Should restrict? Oh, that's
Well, you normally have a main.yaml at the root, and then your trees that go off from that.
Let's just start with main.yaml and get more complicated as things get there, rather than trying to structure it all as we
Yeah,
go.
I quite like doing just like a ping task just to prove my SSH connection works as a first check before I go too complicated.
Hosts or tasks. Is it just task?
I think it's task, and then it's tab in one more, and then you can do dash, and then the name, or yeah, you need a hyphen. The annoying thing is I write this so many times and then I've never saved it, so I don't have any like reference to help guide you other than maybe Googling it if this doesn't work. I think it's just called ping.
Yeah, I think it is.
Well, it'll be ansible.builtin.ping if you wanted to be fancy.
Let's just
I don't think you're meant to have spaces before the colons.
I don't think it matters. Well, I guess
There is a YAML there's an Ansible linter, so it doesn't matter, but I think it fails linting. But I don't know.
Yeah. One of the colleagues we both know very well has very strong opinions about formatting of YAML files, and I think
Which is funny because the whole yes no thing is wrong. It should be true and false.
Is it really?
For Ansible, it is. If you lint the code, it wants to be true and false. It's -i and then the host file. Oh, it's Ansible -playbook. And then you need to go -i and specify just hosts. You can specify the folder. Just take it in.
What are we getting this time? We were unable to read the errors we got this.
The error appears in line 4.
I think maybe that tabbing is wrong.
Yeah, maybe.
Nope, doesn't like that.
If I go back.
Is it singular tab?
So hosts. No, the tabbing was right. You do need to tab in name and ping needs to be tabbed in one more. Hosts. Oh, hosts need to be tabbed. Sorry. Hosts needs to have a colon dash in front of it, I think. And then everything else needs to be tabbed in once more. Yeah, everything needs to be tabbed in once more.
There's a lot of tabs.
This is YAML. Mapping values are not allowed. Oh, it's tasks. You've changed it to task. It hasn't saved yet.
It's probably just pressing the wrong buttons.
Oh, it's so bad changing between the two.
I do it on the same keyboard as well, which I'm not sure is better or worse. Still doesn't like it.
What? Tasks name. Does ping need something? Is that what's going on? No, wait. Tab hosts all. Oh, no, sorry. Tasks does need to be in level with hosts. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yay!
Third SSH. No such file or directory. Does it want the full path?
It doesn't. You don't want to go double slash because it's from the main directory's location, not from the host file. I think.
I think you're right. Okay.
Yay!
Okay, so this.
It's probably worth saying we've just spun up a random Ubuntu EC2 box in the server and done nothing with it except give it Barnaby's public key. So this is a completely clean box.
Yeah, and I will. The plan is to delete this key pair afterwards, so it's going to be lost time. Okay, right. What is the? I guess we should install Vault. What is Vault installed on Ubuntu?
So the first thing I generally do is create a Ubuntu user. I suppose as I'm looking at code that does this on my Pi, I've kind of broken it down into 3 steps. One is making the users, another is installing Vault, and then the third is getting TLS set up. I don't think we're going to touch TLS today, but just using Vault. It's download it from the release .terraform, and then put it in the right location, give it a config. Do you want to create a role for this? Should we go into roles now?
Yeah, I guess. So some roles.
So within Ansible, roles live within their own folder that then has more folders and then even more folders.
So we do a users one.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have the roles folder, and then for every role you want to make, you have a folder of that name as a subdirectory, and then within that you have tasks, a task directory that has all the tasks that you want to run.
Users Vault, and then I guess we can put TLS in here now.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to get to TLS. I mean, if we do, that would be fun. I'll need to quickly hook this up to a domain name, but that's not too hard to do. There were domain names in this account. It would be a very manual process, but definitely doable.
Then is it tasks as a folder as well?
Yes, it's then, tasks.
And then touch roles users tasks.
Don't want the A as much as Wale seems to want the A.
I might set up a group vars.
Yeah.
Touch.
So a folder called group vars.
Yeah. Is it underscore or is it just one word?
Underscore. So within Ansible, vars that you want the entire playbook, the entire play to get are in group vars, and you can then link them by hosts as well if you want to. So only some hosts get some vars. Well, you link them by groups, which are slightly different, but it's easy enough to talk about hosts for now. So we'll just do one called all, which is everything that's in the all group will get the variables we're going to specify, which is probably just going to be Vault user for now, unless we go down the route of getting a TLS.
A Vault version as well. Hey.
Or Vault version. I generally put that in the Vault play. The Vault role is normally where I put the version.
Okay, so
now we have all these files.
It's mainly, I think we have more folders than files, but.
I mean, most of the time I have every file. I have one file in multiple folders. So you don't need to specify the hosts within the role. Hosts are in a play level. You just specify a list of tasks.
I guess something that's worth mentioning is with this you can do stuff like vaults, and like if say we had really UK South, and this would only apply to vault servers that are located in the UK South, so you can kind of do group concatenations to target your players.
But your host's file needs to be far more complicated to add more groups. Currently, we only have the all group.
Yeah, so we won't be messing with those quite yet, but it's a useful bit. So it's tasks.
So you don't say tasks. You just go you just do hyphen space name and then name the tasks.
So vault user.
You need the group and you need the user.
Which should we create first?
I think the group needs to happen first. Just because the user, you tell it what group it needs to be in. And the other thing about Ansible is its docs are really good. Sometimes they're a little bit confusing what they're trying to tell you, but they certainly tell you all the information and normally have relatively good examples.
Yeah, so this is kind of what I'm looking for.
Certainly for the built-in stuff. All the built-in stuff is really good for the things.
It might. So we see if we can get it to do the. I think it does. Might be able to do the group without creating it.
Oh, what? See if you can make the user force make the group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just having the wrong window. Perfect. What else do I need? Name and group. Name.
Not going to put Vault as a variable.
I should. Oh, what am my Vault user? I'm also specifying it in the wrong place. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Save that, and then in here, task. Is it a task or is it a role?
This is now role. It'll just be users.
Oh, yeah.
You call it Vault if you want, but there's no tasks in that one.
Nothing's happening. Here. Let's see if this. That seemed happy. Yeah.
Needs to make it first.
I don't think we can. I'll double check with the groups. Oh, she says the prime groups takes group's name. This will be added to.
Nah.
We have to create group from beforehand. Okay, so let's do that. I think now is we don't have to come back to this file until we get on to the next role. So
Yeah. I mean, you could specify all the roles that you wanted in the main.yaml file, and it just wouldn't do anything until we actually write code in them.
I think that'll be enough.
What's he complaining about? Oh, you need to become.
Yes. very natural way and definitely plan to come on to the come block.
So joys of Ansible, by default, it does stuff as the user you tell it to. So we're doing all this as a non-privileged user called Ubuntu. To make users, if you're on the system, you'd have to sudo add user or user add. I think either will work. So what we need to do is we need to go, if we tell Ansible become true, it'll then become a different user, and by default that is sudo or root. By default that is the root user.
Just gonna put this on over here.
Yeah, because it should just go. There's nothing in those things, and keep going.
I'm surprised it does create the user. Well, I guess it failed creating the user with a different error message first.
Yeah, before it was a validation issue. Now it's yay, it worked.
I guess now it's true. Do you know the command to list users on the host?
It is if you go into if you cat etc/ pa swd. There should be there should be a
There is a quick one. I'll just quick fold to make it a little bit clearer. That we're not lying.
yay user.
Right at the bottom. Okay. Do we need any other users? I guess we're just gonna run this on a raft backend, so we don't need a console user.
Yeah, good enough now. But if we need new users, we can obviously refactor this to use loops and stuff. Maybe we'll get into loops another day. But
Do you want to add a console user just for the fun of it?
if you want to go into loops just to speed up the code, you can do.
With items?
Yes. It's underscore. So you can do a lot of things with things that are subclasses of loop. With items, it just takes in a list of things, and it'll just run the commands. Sorry, it'll run the task with every single one of those items. Making so many users.
Yeah,
So make us all a user. This is also the first time I think we're talking about variables. Yeah. So in this case, item is a variable we are defining, and the way we access it is, I think it's still Ginger 2 syntax at this point, but it's double curly brackets around the thing. So is it worth putting that with items list into a array, into a variable?
Yeah, so I'll just put it in here.
I'm also unsure if I want to let you discover the error you've made or tell you how to fix it.
Let me find out what it is. I'm sure it could be something about too many quotes or something like that. Let's create the thing locally. So let's make a directory.
Yeah, so what this will do is this will run that task on every one of these items, substituting item with what's in the item. And the items don't just have to be strings, they can be complex objects as well. And then you can do crazier things with the with item. And we're now getting to within the folder structure next to the tasks folder, you can also have a vars folder, which will then be a role specific variables. Like this way, nothing else really needs to know about the variables we're creating except this role. But because we have to specify them 2 places, if we needed to create, I don't know, 5 more users, we'd have to write 10 more entries. So it's worth moving them.
All again.
This is main. All is because it's the alls group within the group vars. You need the 3 dashes at the top to
Yeah.
specify that it's YAML. You really don't, but it's like shebang. It's worth doing.
It's colons.
No, it's space and then arrows. It's like the with item. The way you've done the with items, it's the same sort of thing. You don't do square brackets anywhere in YAML. It's just new line and then the dashes in, I believe.
So let's just steal that code from the other one.
Yeah, I think it's just new line and then you can list them. Because YAML's weird.
What do you mean? YAML's the best?
I still don't know what I think about YAML. I'm looking forward to all these error messages.
I'm guessing something around this is wrong. We're going to find out real soon.
You've done 2 errors that I can see. Well, maybe 3 technically. But yeah. It's fine. We get to see what the errors are and we can then talk through them. You need to save your last files, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, this error was really explicit, which is if the start of a line has a curly bracket, you need to put the line in quotes.
Yeah.
And the only way and the easy way of seeing this is they're brightly colored, which means they're wrong.
There we go.
Now I think there's still one more error. You need to save.
One day I'll configure this VS to actually just save when I click off that window. Looks
Oh, that's
fine.
interesting. So
Would-
for the users, this is obviously something they're doing that's fancy. For the users, you don't need to do new line hyphen. You can just go with users space users.
But what I think what I can do if I do this can be really dumb and not recommended.
Yes.
If I-
Yeah. You can concat them together with that, which isn't something only you could do.
Yeah. Yes, it's a good time to get someone in chat. Shout out their name, make me an extra user. And then I can butcher spelling it.
Very weird people in chat.
Save that.
Yes. Which, if you wanted system users to be different to real users, you could then do different things with that. Yeah.
I guess something that's worth pointing out here is you can see the number of things is changing at the bottom here. So on this run, we had OK4 change 1. On the previous run, we had OK4 change 2. And that is because it will tell you which ones have changed. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4 plays, and 2 of them change things in this one.
So they're tasks at this point with 1 play, 4 tasks. 1 roll.
But so the tasks 2 and 3 have changed the users, and then task, and this one is just task 2 because.
Which means if you've got 100 tasks, you can see if it's changed anything or not, which is quite nice.
Yeah. And can do. God, if I remember how to put
dash dash diff, I assume is what you're talking about.
You can do dash dry run, I think.
Yes, I have had some problems with dry run.
Dash dash.
Dry run is very good until you have interdependencies within your Ansible code.
Do you know what the flag is for it?
I thought it was dash dash dry run. I don't know. They may have changed it also with this version because it was a bit. That's fine. I'm.
Find it.
Oh, it's check.
Check mode. Dash.
Yeah, it's dash dash check. I think it used to be dry run.
Yeah, the Ansible I work on is significantly older than the current version.
Yeah, so we use Vault SSH one-time password to. Well, the project I was on, we used Vault SSH one-time password to log into the boxes. Check won't generate the one-time password.
Yeah.
So check is completely worthless for what I've been doing.
That's
But if I generated the one-time password in a pipeline and then passed them in instead of running it in Ansible code, it would work just as well. Should we spin up Vault?
Yeah. I guess the next section is actually building out that role. So roles, Vault, and then tasks.
So there is many a recommended way of installing Vault on Ubuntu, including using Package Manager. I think the recommendation though is download it from the releases website. Because the package manager can take a while to update, whereas the releases website is always up to date. So it's easier. It's easy enough to just use the get URL commands to download the zip file.
We want to do
14.0.
Oh, I guess we can check what the latest version is.
I mean, you'll probably want to just copy and paste the link from the releases page anyway. You probably just want to copy and paste the link from the releases page anyway.
Keep adding more things to this. I think.
Well, they're trying to pull all the plugins out, aren't they?
Yeah, there was something else they were doing. I think they was doing like a Vault analyzer or something where they essentially have a tool that will scan your Vault and tell you what you're doing wrong.
Oh wow. Yeah, that one. Then you just want to probably copy your ARM, aren't you? Oh no, yeah, no. This is the server online. This is AMD 64. I think.
That's spelled wrong. I guess we want the URL.
Oh wow, you're probably building it together with variables.
No, I'm gonna do things right and not put things in quotes.
I don't know about like how much putting things in quotes here matters.
I think the dots might throw things. I just prefer to have things in quotes and not worry.
I would just right click the link and copy.
Right, and it's just a curl. What we get.
Get underscore URL.
AMD64. That's
Get underscore URL. And it requires a URL.
funny that. Let me replace this one. Let's just dump this one into quotes.
That doesn't need to be in quotes because it's the curly brackets isn't at the start. Oh no, it is because you're doing releases. Yes. If you didn't do releases, then it would be fine.
I'm trying to make my code. If they ever change their address, goodness knows why they would. But if they do, why am I copying that on this?
but so there's a level where if it's only written once, is it worth variabilizing it?
My thought is if we were ever to expand on this and we wanted to download other things, I should maybe move that to a different place, actually. But
I think it's fine. I think, yeah, it's one of those weird things of like how much putting in variables is too many things. Because if you just wanted to download multiple things, it's all in the, yeah, I suppose, yeah, you want to install console as well.
really
Then
where this should be though is not in here, and should be up in here.
You're missing the 3 dashes at the top.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like where you put variables, I'm always a little bit like unsure about.
It's kind of the level they want to be accessed in. Kind of the
Yeah.
closer to the bottom level, the higher precedent the variable is. So a task variable, I think, will overwrite a
Yes.
bars variable. But then you can pass variables at runtime and they'll override both. Okay, back to this. So,
And then you need a dest.
where do we want it? I guess we want to install it in Vault. Dest.
Temp directory. Zip file. Zip temporary file. Shove it in the temp directory. It'll get cleaned up every so often to save disk space.
/temp. I guess do we need to go for file path name?
And then give it a name. I normally do vault underscore vault version, or you can do the full thing if you want to.
Keep that consistency. There we go.
And now we need to unzip it, or unarchive, as it's called.
Yeah, we probably want to create the directories and unarchive it into first.
We just want to unarchive it into user local bin. We don't really need to, unless you want to do syslinking, which is more complicated, I think, than we need for this demo.
Fair enough. Let's just go local bin.
This is kind of how I've done it, going that these servers are ephemeral, so they're like, oh, I need to be able to back up the version of Vault, so if something goes wrong, I can jump back, is not really something I think we should care about.
Just source, SRC.
Yeah, source and dest, and then remote source as well. We need to specify. No, sorry. We need source and then remote source as well. Then dest. Yeah, it's remote underscore SRC : true. we're telling it to look on the server for the directory, and then dest is user usr -local -bin, and that'll just put Vault where we can use it. Do we want to run and see if it works?
Yeah. For anyone that is wondering, the names of these can be anything you like, as you can probably tell with my random assignments as we've been going through.
I suppose they are useful names. Barnaby's names are far more useful than the names I generally write.
I end up with these kind of things. I try and make them verbose, but often add puns to them rather than.
Lord, what a shocker! Ubuntu by default can't unzip. You need to install the unzip package. I'm sorry, I probably should have said.
That's fine.
So just do this within Vault. Just do this in the Vault task, surely.
Yeah.
Because if you bundled up this task and took it somewhere else, it would still need this package. I find
to create common because I bundle up playbooks, and then I'd have part of the playbook be multiple roles, and one of the roles might be common.
Yeah.
Then you can do smarter stuff with parallelization.
But with how cheap trying to install packages, I don't think I mind too much about like trying to install the same package multiple times if needed to. It's package wraps, yarn, apt, apk, all of those sort of things. Name : unzip. And obviously you can do with items if you want to install many packages.
Hopefully there shouldn't be that many more.
Project I was just on installed 60 packages before it did anything else.
60.
It took 60, yeah. It ended up having an AMI that all it did is install the packages as a pre-step.
That's a lot of packages. I guess once you get to organization level thing.
Yeah, they were doing crazy things.
All right,
so something interesting to notice. The last thing it's doing is pinging. So tasks will run after all the other roles.
Yes, if I'd split this.
Yes, if it was two roles, it'll do it separately. But if it's two plays, it'll do it separately. But in one play, it goes pre-rolls, roles, post-rolls, tasks, I believe. They may not be called pre-rolls and post-rolls. They may be called something else, but
I don't know if it's going to work.
Why not?
I'm surprised
Why
that
would?
unpacked is executable.
Yep. No. Yeah. It takes the contents of the zip file and puts it into the binary file. It is so nice. It's the fact that works makes everything so much easier.
Yeah. Use a local bin.
Yeah, user local bin, which I think is the correct place to install it. If you look at docs, it's really complicated where people think you should install things in the Linux folder structure, because there are like 5 different bin directories.
Intro designated directory.
Because there's bin, there's user bin, there's user local bin, there's sbin, there's user sbin, there's user local sbin, there's I think that's it. Maybe another one. But yeah. Anyway, now we have Vault. Now we can make a config and spin up the service. I wish I had a raft config file I could send you. But I actually don't have a raft config file to hand. But new thing we've not talked about Ansible yet, which is template files.
Yeah. We can add another thing to our
another folder.
Yeah.
So I think this is one of the. I know everyone. I know the big thing about Ansible is it's all the. I won't call them providers, but the like unarchiving the files and all the idempotency, that stuff. That's what people think is a big thing. I really like the template system for Ansible. I think console does similar if you wanted to go into console templating. But the fact, I don't know if the service file needs to be a template or it can just be a file. The config file needs to it certainly needs to be a template.
Are they J2 files?
Templates J2, yeah. So it uses a thing called Ginger 2, and it lets you at runtime load in it'll just pull in all the variables. You can do very complex for loops and if statements and all that sort of stuff. I've had one that I had one I was messing with a couple weeks ago where it'll generate a new line of a config depending on how many servers are in a different group.
Do we want a JSON config or a HCL config?
I generally go HCL. I think it's HCL if people are making it JSON, if computers are making it. I suppose technically this is a computer.
Go to JSON one.
Yeah.
Config. Let me grab this.
There's probably a base Raft config you can get. I suppose you don't need auto join, so it's pretty.
Probably just this.
You'll need a listener as well. If you go to the if you go to the overview, it will give you the basic on the left. If you go to config overview, it'll give you the basic one. Probably further down there's examples. I think near the bottom there's generally better examples.
We just got the one today.
Oh, okay. Then yeah, that's fine. Just replace the console storage with obviously your own storage. And the cluster and IP address, you'd want to change them to the Ansible hostname.
Oh my god, there's so many storages.
It's integrated storage. It's not called Raft.
Why would it be?
You've already got a cluster address. You don't want to multi-specify that. So things we need to change, the cluster address and API address, they need to be http:// bracket Ansible _ host. No, it's inventory _ hostname. But only the top two.
Do we not want the listener address to be the same?
No, listener address should just be 000. I think it's actually inventory hostname. I think Ansible hostname doesn't always work.
Is it .ip?
No, just inventory hostname's fine.
Yeah, because we're specifying.
It'll be a DNS, but that's fine. Oh, we are specifying IP as well. You're right.
Yeah, we're specifying by IP. We haven't given it a name.
And then we need to give it storage. Needs to be something more useful. Telemetry can go away. We don't need telemetry.
So we don't have telemetry. We pass to RAF data. Happy with that?
Yeah. And then listener, it should be 000. Yep. And then delete the TLS shit. Sorry, delete the TLS stuff. And it doesn't need to be HTTPS at the top.
Do we
don't.
TLS disable, I think it is.
I think it will disable TLS by default if you don't specify the stuff.
We should probably create this directory as well.
I'll have a look at the TLS while you look at that. Yes, is TLS underscore disable, you're correct. And that equals true. Oh, it's a shame. I wanted to get Vault up and running, but we're probably running out of time. Yeah, that should be that should be a valid file. We just need to create the folders.
Was it? Do you remember what the directory one is off the top of your head?
File.
Def.
Yeah, I believe it's dest. Oh no, sorry, it's path, not dest. You spelled vault wrong there.
Oh yeah, I already did. Vault.
You also need to create the vault D directory as well.
Yeah. Oh, what do you want to just create?
We need to create the config directory as well as the storage directory.
Yeah.
So quite a lot of times as well, you'll put storage in like opt instead of thingy. But this is fun. Oh yes, another fun thing you can do with Ansible is that needs to be configured, not after.
Yeah.
Is variables will interpolate at use time, so you can kind of interpolate all the way down, and it'll pick up what that variable is when it runs. So you can have the same variable being run at different times that get computed to different things, depending on how crazy your interpolation is, which is fun.
Okay, that should be good. We need to create config though.
Or you could do your create directory could be with items. And then you need state. Oh yeah, do that first. I think you need to tab that hyphen in.
Remember which one.
you need to give it a state, which needs to be directory. And then you will probably give it an owner, a group, and a mode.
Did we put the Vault user as a... Oh no, we made it.
We did a whole other thing with the users.
Forgot about that.
So this is why you'd want the Vault user to be a variable, because we're going to hard code it about 6 times after this. 740. Oh, you should do a leading 0 as well.
Yeah, we want it to. Actually, yes, the configuration stuff. That's fine. And then writing the conf.
It's a template. And then it needs the source, which will technically look in the templates file. You can do either the relative path from where you are, or as Barnaby's doing, it'll automatically go to the templates file and have a look, which is quite nice. And then dest. You missed a underscore in your config.
Yeah, I'm also trying to remember if I had a trailing slash in it as well. Or if I...
Don't think so.
No, I didn't.
No. And then you put in a copy owner group mode from the directories thing.
This doesn't need to be executable,
Yeah, I mean, 440 is probably good enough. Or 400 is probably good enough. It just needs to read it. But it's a config file. It's not that. This one could probably be, well, you can't get there as a user, but it's fine. So we could run this, log into the box, and start a Vault server. I can probably send you a service file if you want to quickly try and get the service up and running.
I think maybe if we can just log in and then get it to spin up.
Ansible link file with items.
You spelled directory wrong, did you? Yes.
ISO directory.
I mean, you could copy paste from that list below.
Oh yeah, that's probably much more space.
But this is where looping is better than copy and paste, because you've had to copy and paste it multiple times to fix that issue.
Do you not want to just make a variable for the folder structure called directory?
spell that one wrong.
I can't remember who. I've annoyed a few people with spelling variable names wrong, but they're consistently spelt wrong. So,
yeah, it doesn't matter as long as they're always spelt the same incorrect.
Vault does not have a password.
Sudo su dash or sudo su vault.
My tab AutoCAD is not completing.
Change to bash and you'll find tab will work a lot better for you. Just type bash and your life will be so much easier. There you go. No default shell, so it defaults to sh.
CD,
Try run it. Vault, it's vault server dash config equals. And then where the config is. It may not auto-complete. Yep, I can log into it. I can quickly. Oh, you took all the debug messages of me logging in. Oh no, that's yeah.
Yeah. Security barrier not initialized.
Yeah, it's asking me to enable Raft. So there we go. Vault set up in around an hour. There's one file that we've missed, which is the service to make it so if this box restarts, it still has it. Still Vault will start up on start, but pretty good.
I think one last bit that I probably want to mention before we kind of wrap up is there's another thing with an Ansible called handlers. So within a role, you can have handlers, and essentially what they are tasks that will be run at the end if they're called. So I could put something on here that said handlers.
If you give me a sec, I can get an example up, which may be more useful.
And then say something under here would be restart vault.
I have an example because it's not handlers. It's called notify. Would you like me to share my screen and I can quickly show an example of handlers? Give me 1 sec to remember where my control thing is to be able to like manage what we're doing. Oh, it's this thing I just shoved out of the way. This one. Just no, that's not showing screen. That's comment. Share screen.
The idea behind handlers is that if something's changed, you may want something to happen. So in this case, if the config has changed, we probably want to restart the Vault service so it picks up a new config.
But
if it doesn't change, we don't want it to restart. But you might have multiple things that require a restart, and it will only run at the end of that play. So if you have a few things that you change, you don't need to restart Vault over and over and over again during the process.
So here's an example of, this is Nomad. From the demo we did last week. This only actually is one, which is less useful because actually my base has it as well. But yeah, so we have notify restart Nomad. So if there is a change to this config file, it'll notify restart. And the restart, which lives in its nice little handlers folder, has the name restart, and then this will restart Nomad. So if this wasn't a handler and it was just bolted onto the end of this task, whenever you ran the scripts, no matter if anything's changed or not, it will restart Nomad, which if you only have one Nomad server or one Vault server, whatever, that's downtime, which you may not want. Or even if you have a full 5 cluster node, that's still extra stress on the node of spinning up, sort of spinning down every node and spinning them back up, which maybe you don't need in a production environment.
There will still be a bit of downtime because there will be a brief bit where leadership is re-established.
Yeah.
So although it be a few seconds, it's still time when that service is not available. And if you didn't do anything that actually needed a restart, that's just unnecessary downtime.
Yeah. Because say you messed, certainly with this, say you just messed with one of the clients, which actually for Nomad, the client downtime, you can have it in a way that the clients can restart in a non-disruptive way. It'll just take a while. You wouldn't need the server to restart at that point. Yeah, that's handlers. which maybe next time we'll, if we do another one of these, we'll look at something that's slightly more complicated, but maybe we'll have the base set up so we can just dive into the more complicated stuff.
Yeah.
Right, I'll stop sharing my screen. And that is that. Any more closing thoughts?
I don't really think so. We kind of covered like the basics of what Ansible can do. The bit that becomes trickier is when we then, I guess, where you kind of need a little bit more knowledge is when we're bringing in kind of plays which create things that aren't necessarily built through Ansible and trying to write those in an idempotent way. So get it to check things, and this may be you'll like link to a database for some of your stuff, and it will see if an entry exists in the database, and if it does, it'll pull the value from it and check that it's the same as what's on the server. If it doesn't exist, you then populate something to that entry and then populate it to all the things on the server because they won't be there on the server. So that's kind of adding that idempotency and writing it that way.
Ansible, it's a big thing. Anyway, until next week, like, follow, share, subscribe, depending on platform. And yeah, bye.
See you next week.